head to head. CZ, Shadow 2. CZ, Tactical Sport Orange. Hey, somebody's got to do it. Okay, this head-to-head is going to be hopefully informative, hopefully entertaining, and mostly just fun. I guess I'll probably be having most of the fun, but I will try to make sure that there's plenty of visual entertainment for you so that you can have a little bit of fun along with me. So right up top, let me just say, I really like both of these guns a lot. So I'm not necessarily going to say, wow, this one is so much better than that one or whatever. If by the end of today I feel like I'm enjoying one better, I will definitely tell you that. I will share that with you. Hopefully you'll be able to see along with me if I shoot one of them better, and I may. There may be one of these that I shoot better than the other. We'll take a look at the specifications for both of these guns and see which ways they differ, which ways they don't. But right now, let me just warm up and put a few rounds through both of them. Starting with the Shadow 2. This is the one I've had for a while. A year or two, I think. Go for the flapper. For today's video, I put the orange lock grips back on the Shadow 2. I love the feel of these grips. I've been using a set of lock grips, brass grips on this, actually with a black finish. And they're extremely awesome too, and I'm going to tell you about those down the road at some point. But I thought it was appropriate today to have these two guns match a little bit, orange and orange. And speaking of orange, time to put a few through the TSO. This trigger is so light, man, it can really take you by surprise. Well, they have one thing in common. I missed the flapper with the last shot on both of them. These guns are both very heavy. The TSO is a little bit heavier than the Shadow 2 until I put those brass grips on the Shadow 2. Then it, you know, it's like a neutron star, but they're both heavy guns and that works in your favor. They're so similar, of course, with one major difference, and that is that the Shadow 2 is a double action, single action, and the TSO is a single action only. But there's no doubt about it, the TSO is built to be a competition gun. Pretty much exclusively. I don't think the engineers at CZ really had anything else in mind when they built the TSO other than competition. This thing is a straight up shooter. I'm going to have to measure these two triggers on the workbench because as incredible as the Shadow 2 trigger is in single action, this one is like half as much. Let's see if we just can't get all the paint off of that flapper today. I don't see any reason why not with these two guns. If I really wanted to compare the feel and the ergonomics of both guns, I would have put the original aluminum flat, real thin panel grips back on the Shadow 2, but I didn't feel like doing that. These have that palm swell, they're that Coke bottle shape, which is what I really love about them, but it does make the two guns feel much different. Other than that, the frame design is really very identical in terms of ergonomics. So if I had the original grips on the Shadow 2, it would almost be hard to tell which one I had in my hand at any given time. Hey. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm shooting the TSO a little bit better. They really both have a, you know, point of aim, point of impact, especially at this distance. That's like 12, 13 yards down range at target. So it's pretty small at that distance, but I still should be able to nail it. All right. It does feel like I'm shooting this one a little bit better. I think the sights may be a little more dead on, point of aim, point of impact. I don't know, hard to say. Let's try a few on paper. That's always a much better way to find out. Okay, that target is 13 yards away. I'm going to put 10 rounds each through these guns. This is Federal, 124 grain. This is no sponsorship. This is ammo that I bought sometime back when you actually could buy ammo, by the way. But I find it to be generally reliable and generally accurate. So it's nothing special, but it's also nothing bad. So I figure it's a good test, and I'm going to start out with the Shadow 2. That is the orange dot to the left. All right, there's 10 of those. Now, full transparency, after about the first 3 shots, I raised my aim point slightly. So you'll see a little bit of a difference there. I know that kind of skews the test, but hey, this is not science. It's a YouTube video. TSO, going to the right. Okay, there's those. All right, so like I said, I started a little bit low. I was putting the orange dot right on top of my front sight initially, and then I raised it up a little bit. So I know that kind of messes things up, but we know what that is. So there's our general group right in there with the Shadow 2. Certainly respectable. TSO, Also very nice. Interesting how it kind of splits into three. You've got the top, the middle, and the lower. The lower one right here looks like four or five went in there. So I'm not ashamed of either of those groups, but I think I shot the TSO a little bit better. Okay, so as you can see, these two guns are very similar in almost every way, and certainly there's no denying the family resemblance between them. And here are the main specs between the two guns, comparing them, and you can see as you go down the list that they're only different by fractions of an inch or an ounce here and there or things like that. But there are some key differences in the specs of these two guns that could be very important for people's choices between them. Let's look at a few of those. The first is the barrel length. Shadow 2 has a 4.89 inch barrel. The TSO, 5.23 inches, so it's considerably longer. And for some folks, especially competitors, that might wind up translating into a little bit better performance. There's also, I think, a significant difference in the height. 5.7 inches versus 5.9. Now that's only, 200 thousandths of an inch or 2/10ths of an inch, but where it could become key is whether or not that gun fits into the requirements, the required dimensions for certain competitions. IDPA, for example, has a box your gun has to fit in or you can't use it. So that is one of the specifications that could include or exclude one of these guns. The weight is pretty similar, actually. It's only different by exactly an ounce by the published specs. So they're both overweight as far as IDPA is concerned, so it almost doesn't matter in that regard, but very close there. They both have excellent sights. They're different, but very good in both counts. Trigger reach numbers are interesting. Of course, the Shadow 2 is a double action, single action, so I provided both measurements there. But in the single action mode, it's very, very close to the TSO, and I was a little bit surprised that the Shadow 2 is actually very slightly shorter. That's only 60 thousandths of an inch, but 60 thousandths of an inch is perceivable. You can tell the difference. Capacity is a significant difference between the two. The Shadow 2 comes with 17 round magazines, standard. TSO comes with 20 round magazines, standard. Another really big difference is the trigger pull. Shadow 2 has what I consider to be an extremely good single action trigger pull. It's one of the sweetest on any gun that I have. And it's 3 pounds, 4.2 ounces, and that's an average of 5 pulls that gave me that number. So that's a really nice trigger pull. But then move over to the right of that and look at the number for the TSO. That is just insane. That's also an average of 5 pulls, 1 pound, 11 ounces. And this is, in both cases here, folks, this is a factory trigger. I haven't touched it. And last, but for a lot of folks, not least, I'm sure, one of the big differences is the price between the two. Like I said before, neither one of these guns are cheap. The Shadow 2 is certainly not an inexpensive gun, but you can see that the TSO is, nearly $500 more. So whether you're getting that value is really going to be up to each individual. If you want the features and the performance that the TSO provides, then undoubtedly it's going to be worth that extra money to you, and if you're not interested in that, then it's not. One side note on this Shadow 2, I did also do a trigger pull measurement in double action, and for those of you who are interested in that number, it's 8 pounds 15 ounces. It was also an average of 5 pulls. Very, very respectable and very pleasant double action trigger pull there. Alright, so there's a look at a comparison between these two guns by the numbers. And since I do take requests, and since you guys just keep hitting the request line, let me play the song of my people. Okay, this next test is just sort of a fun test, but something that I'm curious about, you might be too, and that is the fast trigger test. This is test number 1 of 2 for fast trigger. So I'm going to try and shoot as fast as I can, and I'm very close to the target. You can see from the camera behind me that's showing you this setup, I am right at the berm and I am very close to my target, because whenever I'm trying to shoot as fast as I physically can, I want to do it as safe as I possibly can. I also don't want to destroy the sticks that are holding my target or my clips that are holding my target and all that. So this is going to be what I call controlled rapid fire. So I'm going to shoot as fast as I think I can shoot and maintain complete control, if that makes sense to you. And when we do test number 2, you'll hopefully see the difference. All right, so I'm going to start out again with the Shadow 2. Okay, interesting, because I had a little bit of a hiccup there. I had one that the first strike on the primer did not ignite the round. So you saw in real time the benefit of having a double action, single action, because all I had to do was pull the trigger again. Took me a second to realize that I needed to do that, and then I could just move on. Real life field tests, real life results. All right, same thing. TSO. All right, nice. That's probably how I would have gone with the Shadow 2 had I not had that hiccup, but it was good. I could feel the muzzle rising a little bit, and I didn't worry too much about it. I knew I was where I was, so that's good. So both of these are certainly made to shoot fast and still very accurately. Even though I'm close to that target, I'm only, what, three yards back. So those of you who take your CCW classes or whatever training and they start you at 3 yards from your target, there you go. You can shoot fast and still put them right in the middle. Okay, fun trigger test number 2. I have removed my target out of harm's way and I'm just going straight into the berm. So I am probably 5 yards, maybe, if that, from this berm. So, and it's a tall berm, it's like 12 feet. So no matter how much my muzzle rises, you know, there's no way I can be unsafe. I know all of my rounds are going to go into the berm. So the objective here is to see how fast I can physically pull the trigger with absolutely total disregard for accuracy or controlling recoil, right? So all I'm going to be focused on is trying to work this guy as fast as I can work him. And those of you who do this kind of thing, and you know, competition shooters out there, and those of you who have just done mag dumps for fun, you understand, I think, that it's easier said than done sometimes, because your finger, right in the middle of a string of fire, your finger can go, what is it I'm supposed to be doing? And just, you know, screw up. So it'll be interesting, but I just want to see between these two guns, if there's one of them, for whatever reason, I can work the trigger faster. So, starting again with the Shadow 2, let's see how it does. There's 10 rounds in each magazine, so it's a pretty long string to try and maintain a super high speed. Okay, not bad, not bad. You saw between round number 9 and round number 10, my finger just sort of said, hey, come on man, union break. Okay, now the TSO. Same. All right. Actually took me a minute to get started, didn't it? That was interesting. I did not expect that it would take me that adjustment period. So I'm going to call it already. I can tell the Shadow 2 won that, which is frankly surprising. I would have, were I a betting man, I would have placed my wager on this one, given the sub 2-pound single action only trigger. But you know, like John Madden used to say, that's why they play the game. Well, if you've done any shopping at all on CZs, Shadow 2s, or TSOs, you know that neither one of these guns is inexpensive. They are both relatively expensive handguns, especially for a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The TSO is about $500 more than the Shadow 2, so there is a substantial price difference between the two, even though, again, the Shadow 2 is already a bit pricey to start with. So, do you get more with the TSO? Do you get $500 worth more? That is up to each and every individual. You know, value, much like beauty, is certainly in the eye of the beholder. I have my own opinion, of course, and my opinion is that yes, you do get that value. It is there if you want it. If the things that are different about the TSO are of value to you or important to you, then of course. I also think these are both really nice handguns, so to me it's kind of like, the analogy that comes to my mind is like saying, well, I really want a BMW. I hear they are just really fun to drive and I want one. Which one should I get? Well, to me this is like comparing the M3 to the M4. You know, you could get a CZ75 SP01, right? There's your 3 Series BMW and it is all that in a bag of chips. But when you want something a little bit more, now you're looking at the M3 or maybe the M4. And that's kind of the analogy I like for these two guns. Shadow 2, I think, is the M3. You know, it is very, very much like the standard production model, only built to go faster, built to go smoother, built to give a nicer user experience, right? To carry that a step further, the Shadow 2 is a double action, single action. The M3 is a 4-door sedan, right? So there's a practicality there. There's a practical element built in. The TSO is a single action only. The M4 is a 2-door coupe. There's nothing about the M4 that says, hey, let's go get groceries. And there's nothing about the TSO that says, you know, let's just do nightstand duty or whatever. I don't know, that may be a stupid analogy, but it's the one that comes to my mind. And to compare these two guns, really, to me, is like comparing really good quality to really great quality. Or maybe just really good quality to differently configured really good quality. All right, so those are my thoughts here today at the range. Let me finish up by putting a few rounds through each one, and then I'm out of here. One parting thought, I feel like this one shoots flatter. TSO shoots a little flatter.